my hair!
You're off your rocker, Wonka! Who in their right mind wants a chocolate that makes you fly?
We're pretty sure the release date for Wonka 2 has just been announced, just 6 months after the original made $632 million. Plus, we've got the scoop on what Wonka's ending really means, including the split with his mom's chocolate and how it sets the stage for Wonka 2. Let's dive into everything we know about the upcoming sequel. Timothée Chalamet might be getting ready to step back into Willy Wonka's shoes soon, as it looks like the release date for Wonka 2 has just been revealed. Chalamet took on the iconic role in the 2023 prequel, following in Gene Wilder's footsteps, and managed to exceed expectations. Despite moderate anticipation, the film did really well, raking in $632 million worldwide. This success made it pretty clear that Warner Brothers would eventually consider a sequel. The ending of Wonka definitely set things up for a follow-up, with Wonka's Chocolate Factory now up and running. Wonka 2 could potentially link Chalamet's take on the character with Wilder's version. While there hasn't been an official confirmation of a sequel yet, discussions about it have been ongoing. Now that it's been 6 months, I'm pretty sure Warner Brothers has quietly dropped hints about when we can expect Wonka 2 in theaters. Warner Brothers recently made some changes to its release schedule, including adding a bunch of untitled movies for 2027. One of these slots is labeled Untitled Family Sequel and is set for December 17, 2027. Even though the studio hasn't confirmed what movie will fill this spot, it seems like Wonka 2 is the most likely candidate. The timing and details fit perfectly with when we might expect Timothée Chalamet to return as Willy Wonka. There's also an untitled Star Wars movie scheduled for the same date, which could complicate things for Wonka 2. However, given the success of the first Wonka and Warner Brothers' desire to recreate that success, it makes sense for them to aim for the same mid-December release window. The original Wonka premiered during the Christmas season, making it a go-to film for families over the holidays. It's smarter for the sequel to stick with that timing rather than trying to compete in the summer blockbuster season. Additionally, there haven't been many other Warner Brothers films recently that could fit the Untitled Family Sequel label so early in their development. It's definitely not for a Barbie sequel, as that would likely be kept for a summer release. Since Wonka was aimed at families and had a lot of heart, humor, and music, it seems like this December 2027 slot is perfect for Wonka 2. The idea that Wonka 2 could drop then makes a lot of sense when you look at the timing. This would give the team behind the first film a solid 4 years to work on the sequel. Even though about 6 months of that time have already passed, taking a brief pause after the original movie's promotional tour is pretty normal. Now's the perfect moment for Warner Brothers to start ramping up for Wonka 2. If we're aiming for that December 2027 release date, the project would have around 2 years left for development and pre-production. This timeline would allow filming to start in 2026 and still have enough time to get everything wrapped up without feeling rushed. Plus, it leaves room for Timothée Chalamet to take on other roles like Dune 3, which conveniently is another Warner Brothers project. Warner Brothers hasn't officially confirmed Wonka 2 yet, even though it's widely expected to be in the works. The studio's keeping quiet on the announcement, which is surprising given the film's success and the fact that both Paul King and Timothée Chalamet have shown interest in returning. One likely reason for the delay in confirming Wonka 2 is that there are still some deals to be made. Neither Paul King nor Timothée Chalamet have signed on for a sequel yet, and they're both in a position to negotiate for higher paychecks. Chalamet especially is likely to get a significant raise after the success of Wonka and Dune Part 2. So Warner Brothers might be waiting to finalize these contracts before making an official announcement. Despite this, I'm pretty confident that Wonka 2 will hit theaters in December 2027. That said, in Wonka, the ending has a deep meaning connected to Willy Wonka's journey. Throughout his life, Wonka was mostly alone, apart from his mother, and he longed to share his joy with someone special. This changes when he meets Noodles and the crew at Mrs. Scrubbett's. Through them, Wonka learns that having dreams and a wild imagination means little if you don't have people to share them with. When Wonka splits his mother's chocolate bar with Noodles and his new friends, it symbolizes the importance of companionship and gratitude. His mother's chocolate is special not just because of its taste, but also because of the people with whom Wonka shares it. While he could have enjoyed the chocolate alone, sharing it with his friends makes it even more meaningful. It highlights that the joy of achieving one's dreams is amplified when you have loved ones to celebrate with. That said, we still don't know what happens to Willy Wonka's friends after the movie wraps up. Since these characters were created just for this prequel, they don't show up in any of the other Wonka films. By the end of the movie, Noodles and the others are finally free from Mrs. Scrubbit. Noodles reunites with her mom, who works at the local library. What Noodles does next is up in the air, but she'll probably spend time getting to know her mom and discovering more about her family. With Slugworth in jail, she might even end up with a share of the chocolate empire, though she might not be interested in continuing his work. As for Wonka's other friends, they head back to their old lives. Abacus Crunch could return to his accounting job or finally retire after all his years of service. Larry probably goes back to his wife, while Piper and Lottie pick up their old jobs as a plumber and a telephone operator. Lottie, in particular, starts talking more again now that she's free and feeling hopeful. Another mystery is why Lofty decided to save Wonka and Noodles from the chocolate cartel. Throughout the film, Lofty was pretty much against Willy because he took the last of the Oompa Loompas' cocoa beans, which Lofty was guarding. However, Lofty ended up rescuing Wonka and Noodles from drowning in chocolate because Slugworth had taken the chocolate Lofty was supposed to get. Since Wonka couldn't repay Lofty if he died, Lofty decided to step in and help so he could eventually get what he was owed. In this case, Slugworth became the common enemy for both Wonka and Lofty, which made Lofty fight for Wonka in a way he probably wouldn't have otherwise. These mysteries could be answered in Wonka 2. Given that the film is a prequel to the 1971 classic, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, there's a span of about 2 decades between Wonka and the start of the Gene Wilder film. Timothée Chalamet has shown interest in reprising his role if there's more of Wonka's story to tell, which he believes there is. Director Paul King is also open to returning, noting that there are 25 years and plenty more things that happen to Willy Wonka after the events of the prequel. Even though the ending of Wonka doesn't immediately set up a sequel, there's definitely potential for more. A follow-up could delve into Noodles' life after reuniting with her mother, and explore what happens to Wonka in the years between opening his factory and finding an heir. However, as of now, Warner Bros. Hasn't officially greenlit a sequel. Whether it happens might depend on how well the movie performs both at the box office and on the Max streaming service. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Your suggestions for future videos are always welcome in the comments below.